All right, so I am just in the process of doing the final little touches to make sure that everything about Franklin is working. It seems that we have some of these faces. I think this over here is a teeny tiny little thing. So if you're ever looking to like select like huge portions of these like big faces, an easy thing to do is to start off at shells, like shell selection, which is right clicking in your UV editor, right click and select UV shells. That means you select everything that's been sort of cordoned off, and you can bring that selection process into your space as well. So you can see this is actually its own shell, and that's this over here that's been, well, it's upside down, which is strange. Why is that a thing? Even though it's its own face? Let's see. Nope. I may have projected the entire shell, which is not right. Let's flip it. There we go. Weirdly enough, oh, I see. Some of the faces are flipped and not the actual shell itself. There. So I'm going to leave that flipped, and we'll just deal with those faces as we go. So if you look, what you should be looking at when you're done with your UV, with your character, is to be able to like, to be able to see all of the faces should be blue. And now what I've basically done is come into here, and we've got this little selection thing going on. Notice the claws seem to be existing in their own little world. We can do the same thing that we did for the rest of the feet, which is just bring them all into the leg thing and deal with them later. And maybe I'm going to do that. So easy thing here is just deselect one end and then shift reselect across. What that should do is give you everything selected. And just in case, I'm pretty sure I saw a little thing around here. Yes, there's that face. Even if you miss a face, it's not the end of the world, but definitely if you can catch him in one go, that's a good like goal to have. So another way that you can do a hind leg like this is actually to project just from the camera angle itself, and then do another partial projection around the area that's cylindrical. So let me just go ahead and go into there, and we'll do a quick camera-based projection. So you can see here's the leg, most of it. Definitely not the way we want it to be because these faces are flipped, but we can cut things out. Now that I've got that, I'm going to leave that here for a minute. Actually, no. Let's bring the leg out. Remember that one? That one was a mess, right? So I'm going to just hold down Control and deselect the upper portion of this leg. Actually, let's deselect this as well. So just this area, I'm going to do a cylindrical projection. So you'll be surprised at how easy this process gets once you actually get started. Just being able to angle things, getting things to like sit correctly. Undoing that. I want to try and select the move handle. But you can see placing this cylinder in a good angle is huge. And of course, let's stay aware of like where we want our seams. I want the seam to be on the inside of the legs so that we don't actually have to like paint very, very carefully. Which I know sounds weird, but... And these considerations, of course, change dramatically depending on what you use to do the painting. But it's always good to know that the placement of seams, and I can assure you, every professional will tell you that UV mapping is still a very, very important thing for you to know about. So just keep that in mind. So we've got this foot here. I'm going to pull this here. This is pretty decent, you know? Some of the stuff is a little flippy, but, you know, it's a little better than that side, so I'll go with it. And then I'm going to just go ahead and select this, select these, you can see there are these faces again. So now I can, if you want, I can reproject, or I can just actually go into my front view camera, deselect the front part of the faces. Maybe even this set here. And I can just reproject for them. So you've got, like I said, a whole bunch of options for how you can like make something like this work. I still kind of think this cylindrical thing might work better. So let's reproject the cylinder and see how that'll work for us. First is placement, maybe rotation. There. Ah, there. That's a line. This is slightly flipped, but it's okay. Let's stretch that out. So you can see what's kind of being created over here. But now we know that the upper and lower parts will actually align. As creepy as this may seem, they will actually align. So let's go ahead. First, let's concentrate on bluing up everything. So just coming over here, select this, modify, flip. There's our head. I'm going to rotate it this way. Same here. And this, like I said, will make sense once we start really getting things going. Let's grab this over here, hit F. So you can see this is why our things are, like that face was flipped. Come on, there we go. So you can, of course, manually adjust these things as well. But there are actually a whole bunch of tools designed to help you work with this. And some of them are going to be super, super essential, especially once we start removing the seams that we've created. So this over here, this is what's selected right now. This is the other half over there. And then we've got the wings. The wings, as you're going to see, like these over here, we've got like a little bit of stuff. The reason why the things are showing up red, the faces, is because we've got some faces that are just sort of folded over in themselves, like here. So you can see this, that face went blue, right? The way that we actually manage something like this is using some of our tools that are available for us. Let's come over here. I'm going to see if I can add this in again, so that it's over here by the side. Of course, if you're using this, this would be absolutely great, but let's go ahead. I'm going to actually select this thing. I'm going to go into the unfold option, because over here you can see there's like a whole bunch of things that'll come into play for us. So let's see if I can use the unfold tool, just paint. And as I do, you see it actually changes how your UVs are getting laid out. And what it does is it sort of flattens out those faces, which looks a lot better already, right? But if you don't want to do it that way, you should have just a straightforward unfold option that'll do it in a one-click sense. And the reason for those differences, for having that difference, is that sometimes you can't, I mean, many times you can't trust Maya to like do things correctly. So you end up having to like, you know, kind of spot correct. And spot correction is what the unfold tool is for, versus just straight up like unfolding. Similar to the optimize, which will actually try and make it so that the faces are sort of like getting the right amount of space in their lives. But here, now that we have that, I can bring this over and I'm going to kind of arrange these two closer to each other and in a more aligned fashion. If you haven't already figured out what I'm doing, you're going to really enjoy this. Getting this ready, aligning things. Maybe I'll keep the angle closer at the end, broader outside. So the angles of like faces and the amount of space you give to a face really makes a difference. Really makes a difference. Now, of course, I'm going to do, let's use the cut and sew option. And there's the sew tool. So I like using the sew tool versus like just straight up sewing because, you know, again, don't like trusting Maya and things. But now what I've done is I've reduced my seam just a little bit. And if I want, I can add that in as well. So you can see now we have a seam, but it's only along the back where all of the messy feathers will be. So we can kind of get away with a lot in that process. And I'm going to come out of my sew tool because I don't want to accidentally do something. I'm going to do another unfold, or maybe I should select it first. UVs. Here. Unfold. Ooh. Ooh, didn't like that. Do not like that. Let's just go in, edit some things manually instead. So this is another really quick and dirty way to get to things. If you hold down Shift and right click, you're going to find that you can really like kind of clean up stuff, and it'll kind of get you some nice results. This is unfold along U, which you can tell is what I was hoping for. It's a bit much. There are these really good tools that'll allow you to kind of like smooth things out. Pinning is the other thing that's going to be something that we talk about more and more as time goes on. But let's try the lattice tool. Kind of see if this will get us the results we're looking for. Nope, that one vertex is just really, sorry, UV, really annoying. Oh. Let's just come over here. Tell me if these UVs are sealed together or... Yeah, they might be. Okay. So the amount of space you give this is really going to determine how much information you put in. But I'm okay with that. It's cool. Now let's do something similar, the same thing essentially, for the head and the body, because these two are of course really essential, and there's going to be a lot more stuff that you're going to have to fix as you go. So I'm going to start off with using the sew tool again, and if you want to make it bigger, just use the B, hold down B, and click left click side to side. There. So check it out. We now have all but the very last of the UVs. There we go. Remember Y, our non-denominational. There. So now that we have these, I want to make sure that more than just that one area kind of gets some attention, like space, you know, because this is a lot of surface area for a face that is yay long, right? And we want these shapes to sort of semi-correspond with each other. And this is where like your unfold tools and stuff really come in handy, because I can select I can either do it as an unfolding process, or in my case, I'm actually going to not do that. I'm going to come and move, select it as a shell, and I'm going to try hitting unfold. There you go. So now all of a sudden, the projection part of it may have been an issue, but now the unfolding process, way better. Let's go back into UV mode. I'm going to sew just this one last face because we really, really want that to be nicely set up. Now we've got this shell, not, yeah, okay, oops. I'm going to grab both of these, and again, we're going to go back to the sewing tool because we want to stitch stuff. Oops, too much. It's easy to get carried away. And shell. Check it out. And this is the beak part again, so gotta make sure that we stitch things. But now we have head. So this is a really, really useful thing that you're going to find is getting pieces like in any way working for you, and then going ahead and just, oops, here, UVs, and just making sure that you actually are able to use them as you work. So here's this. I'm going to use that. Ooh. Well, I can live with it. It is flattened out, so I'm going to scale this down because it is the tail. And now we have this and this. So let's select this. Let's do a quick unfold. Go with this. Same difference. You can see the feet are terrible, but that's okay because we're not going to worry about those right now. I'm going to broaden this, and because we want to have this section kind of match, I'm going to move this out of the way. I want this section over here to really just work with me here. So I'm gonna grab all of this, everything selected, go into, not align, straighten UVs. Ooh, that got really straight, but it's fine. We'll work with it. And yes, straightening UVs is an actual thing, and it can really make a difference in how stuff works and how you get to paint things. So keep that in mind. But now we've got this. I'm now in a position to, guess what, stitch. So I'm going to just set this up because these are relatively straight lines over here. But I can like use that to my advantage because now I can use the sewing tool. There we go. Just zip that across. Yay!